The time is here for blood, for guts, and for ghouls. Stick around for 50 Halloween movies to watch this year. For this video, I will be organizing the movies by where they can be watched. So if you're looking for films that are on a specific streaming service, navigate to the timestamps in the description. Also, please note that some of these movies are available on multiple streaming services, so it may be worth a quick Google search. Without any further ado, let's get into the spooks and scares. Starting with films that you can only catch in theaters, releasing on October 26 is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. The highly anticipated film adaptation of everyone's early 2015 gaming obsession is set to follow a troubled security guard who begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. But while spending his first night on the job, he realizes that the late shift at Freddy's is no piece of cake. A Haunting in Venice released on September 15th and follows famous Belgian detective Poirot. The detective, who is now retired, reluctantly attends a seance hosted by a mystery writer. And he shortly gets thrust into a sinister world of shadows and secrets when one of the guests is murdered. You know, just as is necessary in a film with Poirot. Releasing to theaters on October 6 is The Exorcist Believer. The film follows a single father named Victor Fielding who needs to confront evil when his daughter and her friend show signs of demonic possession. Saw 10 released to theaters on September 29th and follows John Kramer as he travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure, only to discover the entire operation is a scam against the most vulnerable. With new purpose, the serial killer uses deranged traps to turn the tables on the con artists. The Nun 2 was released on September 8th. It takes place in 1956 in France, where a priest is violently murdered. As Sister Irene from the previous Nun film begins to investigate, she once again comes face to face with a powerful evil. Moving over to Netflix, we have Goosebumps. The film follows a young boy named Zach, who is upset about moving to a small town. Shortly after, he learns that his neighbor's mysterious father is R.L. Stine, the author of the Goosebumps series. Unfortunately, Zach accidentally unleashes the monsters from the books, and it is up to R.L. Stine, his daughter Hannah, and Zach to return the beasts back to the books where they belong. Additionally, there is a new Goosebumps series coming to Disney Plus on October 13th. The Curse of Bridge Hollow is a comedic family film that follows a man and his daughter who must save their town after an ancient spirit brings Halloween decorations to life and causes them to wreak havoc. We Have a Ghost follows a boy named Kevin and his family as they move into an abandoned historic house. There, Kevin finds a ghost named Ernest, who turns his family into overnight social media sensations. But when Kevin and Ernest seek to investigate the mystery of Ernest's past, they become a target of the CIA. Boo, Bitch is a supernatural comedy that follows high school senior Erica Vu as she seeks to break out of her shell. Unfortunately, she takes breaking out of her shell a bit too literally. The Babysitter follows a boy named Cole as he finds out his beloved babysitter is in a murderous satanic cult. In the first film, he has to put his feelings aside to escape his babysitter, and in the second film, after the events of the last have come to pass, he finds himself facing off with the murderous babysitter cult once again. The Day Shift is a comedic vampire hunter film that follows a hard-working dad out to provide for his daughter, which he does so by hunting vampires. Though not all is right, as an ancient evil lurks nearby. Killer Book Club, also called El Club de los Lectores Criminales, follows 8 horror-loving friends as they fight for their lives when a killer clown, who happens to know a grim secret that the group shares, begins to pick them off one by one. Phenomena is a Spanish horror comedy that follows a group of women as they investigate an antique shop that could be their deadliest case yet. There's Someone Inside Your House follows a teenage girl as she moves from Hawaii to Osborne, Nebraska, but she soon must confront her past after students at her new school are murdered. Veronica is a Spanish film that follows a teenage girl and her friends as they summon the spirit of the girl's father with a Ouija board during a solar eclipse. Unfortunately, during the session, the girl loses consciousness and it becomes clear that something sinister has arrived. Also, Hermana Muerte, also called Sister Death, is a prequel from the world of Veronica and is out on October 27th. Les Affamés, also called Ravenous, is a Québécois film that takes place in a small, remote village in upstate Quebec that is terrorized by a flesh-eating plague that breaks down people's bodies and turns them against others. Malevolent follows a brother-sister paranormal investigation team that fabricates their paranormal encounters for cash, but they get more than they bargained for when they take a job in an estate with real paranormal activity. Moving on, Max has quite a collection of horror movies. They actually have a really nice page for all of their spooky, scary, and Halloween-themed films this year, where they categorize the films based on spook level, sort out Halloween-themed episodes of our favorite shows, and display it all in an interactive and easily navigatable manner. I'll leave the link to it in the description. Coraline follows, Coraline, who discovers a secret door while exploring her new home. Behind the door lies an alternate world that mirrors her own, but seems better. She is thrilled with this discovery until Other Mother and the rest of her parallel family try to keep her there forever. Edward Scissorhands follows the animated creation of a scientist that is called Edward. Unfortunately, the scientist dies before he can finish assembling Edward, leaving him with a freakish appearance and scissor blades instead of hands. Luckily, a loving suburban woman named Peg discovers him and takes him home, where he falls for Peg's teenage daughter. Everyone has got to have heard of The Boy Who Lived. The Harry Potter films follow a young wizard as he enters Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and as dark times fall on the world, we watch him battle it out with the world's deadliest wizard, the man who killed his parents. Corpse Bride follows the nervous groom-to-be Victor as he practices his vows in the forest. He places a ring on the branch of a tree, when suddenly, the branch becomes less like a branch, and more like the corpse of a bride. This corpse bride, named Emily, then takes Victor to the land of the dead as her husband, and he must find a way back to his love before she marries some villainous rich guy. Kiki's Delivery Service follows a 13-year-old girl named Kiki as she moves to a seaside town with her talking cat Gigi to spend a year alone as a part of her village's tradition for witches in training. Once she learns to control her broomstick, she sets up a flying messenger service that becomes incredibly popular. But her insecurities get the best of her and she loses her magic abilities. We all know Scooby-Doo. If you're looking for a hint of nostalgia or want some lighthearted spooks, Max has a ton of Scooby-Doo hits. In Jennifer's Body, a demon takes possession of a high school girl, Jennifer. Under this possession, she turns a hungry eye on guys who had never stood a chance with her before. While she uses the school's male population to satisfy her appetite for human flesh, her nerdy friend Needy vows to put an end to the carnage. The Scary Movie films are perfect for when you want something comedic and familiar, as the films follow every horror trope to the max by parodying all of your favorite horror films. Sleepy Hollow is based on Washington Irving's classic tale The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The film follows Ichabod Crane, a 19th century version of a crime scene investigator. Ichabod is called to the town of Sleepy Hollow as a result of recent decapitations. As the villagers whisper that this is the work of the Headless Horseman, Ichabod begins to question if there is always a logical answer. Now, the Annabelle films follow the story of a vintage doll in a white dress who, may or may not house a demonic spirit. It Chapters 1 and 2 tell the story of Stephen King's It, a nightmarish being that often takes the form of Pennywise the dancing clown during the duration of the movies. The first film follows 7 young outcasts from Derry, Maine as they face the sewer-dwelling evil that appears every 27 years to prey on the town's children. 27 years later, It Part 2 takes place and sees the outcasts return for one last fight with It. The 5th installment of the film series, Evil Dead Rise, sees a reunion between 2 estranged sisters cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons. This pushes them into a battle for survival as they try to save their family from these deadites. Continuing with our Exorcist features, the first Exorcist follows the demonic possession of a little girl and her mother's attempt to rescue her through an exorcism. The later Exorcist films continue to follow these exorcisms and the mysteries they leave behind. Taking a look at the collection on Disney+, the Halloween Town films are a ton of fun and follow Marnie and her siblings as they find out that their grandmother lives in Halloween Town, a place where witches and ghouls live year-long. Marnie discovers that, like her grandmother, she too is a witch, and the ensuing films follow her as she navigates this new life and the threats that Halloween Town faces. The Hocus Pocus films follow the Sanderson sisters, a group of 3 witches, as they seek out the lives of children throughout 3 different eras. Monsters University follows students Mike and Sully as they learn how to become the nation's next top scarers. Monsters Inc. continues the story of Mike and Sully, who now work for the energy factory Monsters Inc. as top scarers. The Nightmare Before Christmas follows the Pumpkin King of Halloween Town, Jack Skellington, as he becomes bored of the spooky world around him. When he discovers Christmas Town, he is newly inspired and wishes to run Christmas rather than Halloween. So, he does what any rational person would do, and he plots to kidnap Santa Claus. Disney's Haunted Mansion follows a woman and her son as they enlist a crew of spiritual experts to rid their home of supernatural beings. Now, the Buddies will always hold a special place in my heart, and their Halloween special, Spooky Buddies, is just as lovable. The film follows the Buddies and their new friends Pip, Zelda, Roddy, and Skip as they must stop Warwick the Warlock to save the world. Marvel's Werewolf by Night tells the tale of a dark and somber night as a secret society of monster hunters gather at the Bloodstone Temple following the death of their leader. In a dark memorial to the leader's life, the attendees are sent into a deadly competition for a powerful relic. Moving on to Paramount Plus, they're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky, they're altogether ooky. Paramount Plus will hook you up with the Addams Family and the Addams Family values. The Scream films tell the stories of numerous ghost-faced killers while they go after those who were connected to the original film over and over again. Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, follows an English barber who was wrongfully committed of a crime and exiled by a judge who wanted to steal his wife. Years later, he returns to London under the name of Sweeney Todd and begins to kill some of his barber shop's customers as he is thirsty for revenge. Based on the Japanese horror story, The Ring tells the tale of a nightmarish videotape that once watched will kill the viewer in exactly 7 days. The Grudge follows an American family as they make a new life in Tokyo. Unfortunately, their new home is located on the site of a curse that claims the lives of anyone who comes near. Pet Sematary follows a family with 2 young children as they move to rural Maine. They soon find an ancient burial ground in the woods near their house, and when tragedy strikes, they mistakenly turn to their neighbor, Judd Crandall, and the burial grounds. Also, Pet Sematary Bloodlines releases on October 6 and tells the story of Judd Crandall. Now onto Prime Video's collection. The Twilight movies follow Bella Swan as she moves from sunny Arizona to rainy Washington, and shortly becomes tied up in vampire-werewolf feuds, relationship drama, and one hell of a baseball game. Releasing on October 6 is Totally Killer, a film that follows a mother and her daughter, Jamie. 35 years prior, Jamie's mother survived an attack by a killer that took the lives of 3 of her friends. And now, the killer is back for another victim. When Jamie comes face to face with the killer, she accidentally time travels back to the year of her mother's encounter with the psycho. Making our way over to Hulu, I spent countless hours reading scary stories to tell in the dark in the school library as a child. So when a film based on these stories was announced, I was excited for sure. The film follows 3 teens who investigate the legend of the Bellows family and end up deeper than they thought when the scary stories from Sarah Bellows' book begin to come true. Haunt follows a group of friends who decide to enter an extreme haunted house on Halloween night. But as the night goes on, it becomes apparent that the brutality they have witnessed is far from staged. The Babadook follows a single mother who is haunted by the violent death of her husband as she battles with her son's fear of a monster lurking in the house. However, it soon becomes clear that a sinister presence is all around her. Taking a look at what Peacock has to offer us, Renfield tells the story of, Renfield, a man who works for the narcissist Dracula. He is forced to find his master's prey and do his every bidding. However, after centuries of service and some group therapy sessions, he's ready to see if there's a life outside of Dracula's shadow. The Love Witch follows a beautiful young witch named Elaine. She is determined to find a man to love her, so she makes spells and potions and then picks up men and seduces them. However, when she finally meets the man of her dreams, her desperation to be loved drives her to the brink of insanity. The Last Shift follows a rookie cop who has been assigned the last shift at a transitioning police station. She has to wait for a hazardous materials crew to pick up biomedical evidence. However, the shift turns into a living nightmare. Continuing with the theme of Exorcist films, Exorcist The Beginning and Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, both act as sort of prequel films to the previous Exorcist films. Finally, we have some totally free films with Tubi. Paranorman follows a young boy named Norman who can speak to dead people. When an old witch's curse on his town comes true and the dead rise, Norman must use his abilities to set everything back to normal. A Meowie Halloween follows Whiskers and her buddies as they must figure out what is haunting their home. The Return of the Living Dead follows Foreman Frank as he shows new employee Freddy a secret military experiment. But the two accidentally release a gas that reanimates corpses that are hungry for flesh. Wrapping up our Exorcist theme, Exorcist 3 continues with the mysteries surrounding these exorcisms. Anyways, thank you all for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Please consider leaving a like and subscribe to support me. And as always, remember to be good people, love others, and love yourselves. Peace.